Hello, 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 everyone. This is Kübra Uzun, and I'm with Simone. We are in Syntia, Kabak, together this time. For the very first time in 3 years, we are just in flesh together to close the iteration. We just started through the window like 3 years before in 2020 at the very beginning of the pandemic to support queer artists, thinkers, and DJs and night workers, all in all, because I mean we were suddenly stuck and we were unable to use the places that we go, that we perform, that we exhibit. So we just started the project with the support of Istanbul Consulate General of the Netherlands. Then last year and this year, we have the generous support of Prince Claus Foundation and the Civil Vision. And we are so excited today. We have great works coming from all the magnificent artists. Thank you all again for your togetherness, for sharing those moments with us, the works and everything. Thank you again. Today, for the very first time, we will have this talk with the artists of the exhibition. Simon is going to moderate this talk. Then right after, we will have an online party as closing party of our third iteration. I again thank you and welcome you all. And now, Simon, the mic is on you. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Hello. This is Simon speaking. God, it's so beautiful to be here with you, as always online and also in the flesh with Kubra. It's quite special to be here for the third time, as Kubra already mentioned. And I truly hope we can continue doing this. And by doing this I refer really to creating space together. So this year Through the Window was focused on this question of, do you have space? Do you have a place to crash, to make ours, to hang together, to feel safe? All of these questions are kind of coming up, and they have been coming up for us in Through the Window, through the Window, and with Through the Window. And I truly hope that you are finding a space here, whether as a participants, right, as a participating artist, you are really creating space with your works. I hope you've already been able to see the works that have been published today or launched today online at our Through the Window page on Instagram. Or of course, as an audience member, if you're here. I immediately want to invoke you into the space by saying that we will be answering questions in case you want to drop those in the chat, or if you want to unmute yourself. I guess that's not possible with the webinar, but you can definitely drop them in the chat, and we would love to receive them. Also, use that chat. Let us know you're there. I'll start with saying that we also have Turkish Sign Language interpretation. We're so happy that we're able to have that here, as well as Turkish English simultaneous translation. Thank you, Oner. So yes, please make use of that if that's of any help or creates an extra accessibility for you. I'll also give a description, an image description of myself for those who are listening. I am currently more tanned than I usually am. I'm a white person with blonde hair. I am wearing a neon colored sort of tank top. I'm sitting surrounded by the dark of the night. You might hear some background noise. I'm wearing white AirPods. And yeah, not very significant at the moment otherwise. I'm so happy that today we're having a carousel conversation, as we were calling it. After last year, we decided, so usually we always invite speakers who are not already involved in the project to think about themes together. So during the Boyazici University Uprise in Istanbul, we were talking to speakers about university working within academia and activism, for example. Well, there's many other themes that we discussed. But last year we really felt that in some ways the launch of the exhibition should get a bit more space, and the artists who are contributing this year, those are 31 artists that are contributing, should get a bit more space. So today we feel very lucky to have 8 artists here with us who are sharing about their work that they contributed to this 3rd iteration. And yeah, we want to just invite them in. I can also just start by saying their names. If you are listening in, but you want to know more, we will be posting the bios into the chat if that's available to you, as well as a link to their work. So today we're speaking with Moenirah Daniels, ceytengri, Jacquie Davis, Anto López, Andru Suarez Rojas, Syntia, and Kabi Kimari. And I'm very excited to invite ceytengri to open the mic.
Hi.
And hello. Maybe you just want to start by sharing a little bit of a description of your work, your amazing, complicated video work that you made.
Should I describe myself for those who are listening to? I'm the prettiest non-binary girl you've ever encountered in your ever life, with long, ravenous black hair, a mullet, and thick eyebrows. And I'm wearing a white tank top and speaking. So I started working on tengrisms maybe 2 or 3 years ago with one of the fellow Through the Window artists, Dirty Projector. We worked on the first one together. It was it was very short. Hey. There they are. It was very short and not as high production as this one. This isn't very high production either, but like just think how low production it was. It was essentially a way for me to describe what I was going through in a very melodramatic way, because I don't really like to talk about my emotions all that much. So doing it in a humorous way actually open space for me to not be embarrassed about it. So I started writing tengrisms too around 1.5 months ago, I think. I was very unemployed, feeling very underappreciated, going through a breakup and stuff. So I had to vent out, and I couldn't do it through my Instagram stories and rants. So I had to find another way. Yeah, so I started writing tengrisms too. Because Through the Window project has given us some money to actually work on our craft and make big spends. I got to work with so many amazing people. So many artists that I adore and stan and be a fan of. Such as Anto, who is my longtime collaborator, Anto Sex, who I shooted both of my music videos with and my single covers. I got to work with Basic Disarm, who is an amazing DJ and music producer who had an EP come out called Compromise earlier this year. And I got to work with so many other amazing people that Elif Kaka, Kiki Nash, Syntia, who are all Through the Window artists, by the way. and ones I can't remember right now. I really have a hard time finding myself in media. Like I don't really see any trans or autistic or gender non-conforming roles in film or TV series or like any other thing. Books, the books I used to read when I was a kid. I didn't find anyone like me back then, so it was very hard to I think accepting who you are and your identity comes from seeing so much examples of it on media, on internet, on TV, and when you don't get to have that, it's really hard to accept yourself, love yourself, etc., etc. So I actually had a video essay about this earlier this year, talking about how I couldn't really see anyone but villains who were queer coded or trans coded on media, and how I like related to them in the way that my femininity was being vilified and my identity was being vilified. So we had something in common. In this project, I'm expressing myself through an evil queen, a antichrist maybe, again, because it's a really comfortable role to be go ham and like be dramatic and be very expressive without it's like looking sappy or like too emotional. So yeah, I have a problem with showing emotions and vulnerability, I think, because of toxic masculinity. Not like toxic masculinity doesn't really only affect men, but like some trans femme people who were forced to be socialized as boys or men against our will. So that's an important topic for me too.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question? Thank you. So, can I ask you a question about your inspiration in relationship to sci-fi and fantasy? Because you also refer to Dungeons and Dragons and the way that sci-fi and fantasy has informed your aesthetic, and I thought that was really remarkable in your film. So I wonder if you want to share something more about that.
Thank you. I used escapism as a way to like cope with the realities of Turkey and Bursa and Middle East. It was very conservative when I was growing up, so and like I didn't really get to have a lot of access to computer either because we only had one and we had to share it with my two other siblings. So I would read a lot of books, and I would read books that like mainly contained wizards, dragons, witches, goddesses, gods, etc. Because it they were, I don't know, like really easy to get into for me. So I started developing this like passion for fantasy and science fiction, and I would like get on internet forums and like create an online persona and be someone that I could not be when I was a tween in Bursa. So I started like socializing in these forums, but there weren't really any enough space for queer people or like women in general. It was mostly like, as I said in my artist statement and stuff, like underdeveloped teenage boys, like with no social skills and a lot of edgy opinions. And I think I got some of that too, but like I'm so lucky I turned out to be trans and transitioned, because I would be an like terrible person if I wasn't. um
And that's something that brings me to another point in your description of your video, which is about when you write, going back to the years when my God complex took the wheel, which I was very fascinated with, especially now in relationship to your description around not having a kind of space of expression and like seeking this space of expression in escapism or like in this fantasy form. But then the God complex also has this sort of arrogance of overcoming. So I was very interested in this sort of, right, like often, of course, there's also this sacrality of transness that is almost taken up in response to oppression. So I was interested in this kind of relationship of the God, or how the God complex works for you in this artwork.
um like Tengrism's Tengri is like the first big pagan god the Turkish, like all Turkish people used to believe in, I think. And I got my name from that pagan god. And Tengrism is just like revelations from a god who speaks to like easily see through ne denir? I couldn't think of the word, sorry. Like who speaks through easily recognized symbols and metaphors. So Tengrism is almost like I also got the name from Psalms, the Bible book. It was like a auditory reference to that. Like having a god complex was really a saving grace for my ego, like because everyone tells you how shitty you are, everyone tells you how you don't belong, so you get to say, no, actually I am amazing, and I am like loved, and I do belong here, and I'm actually much more amazing than you and stuff. And like now when I say it, it's more like, yeah, Steve, work. But when I had that attitude when I was 13 and like a teenage boy with no social interpretation, no social skills, it was very like, okay, can you like go now? Yeah.
Maybe last question, and then we should invite Jacquie in, unless there are questions from any of the other artists. But I was wondering a little bit about the big change in the camera perspective, because there's, for those who haven't seen it yet, you can see you on the street, I think of Istanbul, from filmed from above, almost from like the perspective of a window, or maybe a surveillance camera. And then later on, you see you in the subway station on the screen of surveillance cameras. And then later on, you actually are in a kind of like natural environment or like on the rocks. And it's a very different kind of camera perspective, much more close to you, much less from like a surveillance perspective or like a watching onto you, and much more almost, it seems like it's almost controlled by you, the camera perspective. It's almost your own face even at some point. So I was wondering if you wanted to share something about those camera choices or like those perspective choices.
Sure. Like first half of my monologue is very like, I did this and this and this, I am that and that and that, and why aren't people appreciating me more? So like it's a way more complainy part, and the second half is like much more vulnerable and like what I felt at the moment. So having a camera that was near and like far away in certain situations and takes it was really a way to get that point across. Also, like this year's theme is our place also was very inspirational because there really isn't space for us here in the streets most of the time. Like I get to live in Şişli and I got to shoot this video in Şişli mostly, and it's much more relaxed here than the other parts of Istanbul and other parts of Turkey, but still it's a lot to deal with when you go out on the street as a trans person, especially if you do not pass. A lot of weird stares, a lot of like catcalls and stuff. So most of my trans friends, most of my neurodivergent trans friends especially, don't really like to go out. Sometimes I don't really like to go out either because like I just don't want to deal with it. But I just want to show myself and other people that there is space for us, and like people can look at you weirdly like they do in the video, but I was still there, I stood there, I existed there, and I like made space for myself. So I would only hope that it would inspire other people to do so too.
Thank you so much, ceytengri. With those last words, maybe I'll invite Jacquie Davis in.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello. Hi, Jacquie.
Hi.
So, Jacquie, you also shared a work with us. Do you want to maybe describe a little bit what the work feels, looks like, entails?
Yeah, should I also first describe myself? I have long hair on one side and bust on the other, and I'm currently wearing glasses. I am a fat non-binary person, and you can see it. And I'm wearing a nice black blouse. Where it is. So yeah, as it comes to my work, I made a poem and I decided to make a visual guidance with the poem. Actually, the visual guidance came for parts of the visual guidance came first, and the poem got shaped somewhere in the middle of it. This is one of the things that is part actually based on the poem. But the sixth image, the one that ended up being the video, is actually the image that that got stuck in my head first. As I said, I'm disabled. I am also quite high risk for COVID. So I have been in isolation for 2.5 years now, give or take. And but even before that, I felt a strong disconnect with my community, because so many queer spaces are completely inaccessible, and a lot of queer spaces do not even make an effort to become accessible. So when I was thinking about spaces, where do I feel space? Where do I feel at home? I felt this duality inside of myself. Like, on one side, I feel at home in my community. It is where I feel at home. And on the other side, it's the place where I actually don't feel accepted at all. And during the feeling, during the images that popped up, that kind of dualities played a strong part in the images I chose in the poem that I made. And I think my work and my the images in the poem is based on that need to stay connected, that I want to be connected, that I have the hope that it can come better. And that's why I think that hand image with the video was the one that came up first, that need to show myself that I'm still here, that need to break through. But yeah.
Sorry, did I interrupt you, Jacquie?
No, I was just thinking for a second, but to interrupt.
Sorry. Silences are always strange in Zoom because silences are good, but I interrupted you. I just, because we just looked at an image. So previously you were talking about the video, and it's a very slow moving video, a painting by you of the trans flag colors. So that's blue, pink, white, and then again pink, blue, and then a hand that shows up at the kind of end of this long stroke, just for those who are joining listening without the visual. But then just now there was an image of a bookshelf that you composed in in such an order that it's the colors of the rainbow flag. And I didn't actually see this until I realized it from the description. So my immediate my eyes were immediately drawn to the book titles. So that's, I guess, my way of giving meaning to certain things. But I was really curious about your choice for these books, presuming that it goes beyond color, and why it was for you important to portray these books.
Yeah, it goes beyond color. Although the color was of course quite important. I chose books that all have a queer theme in them, or queer main characters, or anything of the like. So some of them are non-fiction books. Most of them are, however, fiction. And for me, books with queer themes also deal with the fact of feeling represented, like what was discussed in the earlier thing. I also feel that I often do not feel myself represented as much in other books. And although not all of them are specifically relating to how I identify, for example, The Gentleman's Guide to Vice Virtue is around gay men and a bisexual man. And so that's, but just the general, even then, because it's a queer team, I often feel more community. I feel more connected with these types of books than other types of books. And that was kind of why I chose to specifically have those books there.
Yeah, and what ceytengri also said, this the fantasy or the escape through non-human animals, for example, is that something that counts for you as well?
I don't think it's the main theme for me, as it comes to books, is more based on the disconnect I feel in real life with my community. And that makes me search for it for ways that are accessible for me. And in this case, you will of parasocial relationships. This is the thing that I that gets it for me. I cannot get it other way, and I think that's why the books are things that I felt that needed in there, because it's a bit of
So it also makes me your work, not just as an artist, but
all these things are me, or are things that affect me, or any of the other things. One of the, for instance, one of the latest things I posted, probably not the last thing, was a painting with types of color of me naked from the back. There's a personal element in it because it's me. It's part of how I feel about my body and uh, getting to know my body. Um, the art is, what do I tell with just subtle things. For instance, the background colors relate to dark blue, dark purple, black colors relate to the pain I experience. But it's also quite political in a sense, and that big disabled bodies are not allowed in society to be naked. And all those things just keep connecting, even when my art is, what's the word? That you don't actually see any people or anything, or it's just based on colors. It's always those connections that just keep popping up again and again and again.
Yeah, and I'm also thinking about what you were saying earlier about the way that you find connection in books, and whether you find in isolation, whether due to a pandemic or because of an ableist society, whether you find that community online. And maybe you want to answer something about that. And I was also wondering if you would want to read your poem.
Yeah, I can read my poem. I'll answer the question first. I do find community online, and I do find it specifically in what we refer to the queer crip community, uh, which is always on the intersection, and um, a lot of my friends are on that intersection. Actually, to the point that, because I'm part of Feminists Against Ableism, and we are trying to start something up as it comes to the queer crip aspect of it, to see if we can do stuff, change stuff. So that's it's actually something personal turned political again. So yeah, it's definitely online. I can experience that, but you do also feel a need for physical connection to some point that you just still cannot have. So I am going to read my poem now. Hello, I am here and I have lost my voice. You are my community. Can I borrow yours just to tell you that I love you? Hello, I am here and I have missed your face. The silence that keeps greeting me feels so misplaced. Could we have little acts of rebellion? Away from closed signs behind the lines, there's a rainbow from your door to mine. It has a connection. We have gone Wi Fi. Plug me into you and turn us into smiles. Turn community to voices. Video call me for a while I hold your heart in my hands. I take this heart and carry it on my lapel. So there's just this part of us somewhere I can tell you have not left my side. Reading your stories made me less alone. I turn your words inside me and then strike a pose, remembering that I still belong. We are always stronger when we are one. Community has always been a form of rebellion. So remember me locked behind this window. And when I return to you, let me inside. No separation, no divide. Accessibility is pride and a rebellion.
I love that. Accessibility is pride. Thank you, Jacquie Davis. Or Davis, maybe in Dutch. I don't know.
Davis.
Davis. Next, I would love to invite Moenirah Daniels in. Moenirah is here with us. Moenirah? Yeah, there you are.
Hi everyone.
Hello, Moenirah. Welcome. I'm going to ask you the same question. I know you were dealing with a power out earlier, so maybe you missed some of the introduction, but I would love to hear a little bit of a description of yourself, if you want to do an image description of how some of us see you right now, but also of your work.
Okay, sure. My name is Moenirah Daniels. I am a South African and from Johannesburg, South Africa. I am a non-binary queer photographer. Physically, I have braces. I have bushy eyebrows. I have, yeah, I'm just a bubbly kind of person on general, man. Yeah, my work is titled Splits. There was this sort of awakening that I experienced recently, and it kind of allowed me to reevaluate my life process and how I sort of carried myself on an everyday basis. It was almost as though I was living life with no sense of direction, no sense of goals or any type of really interests in living. Honestly, there wasn't any real sense to that, and so that's me. So one of the things that were part of that, I call it an autopilot mode. Before this awakening, it was that in this autopilot mode, I found myself living predominantly within an ego-based kind of ideal nature, and it was that ego-based life was almost, in a sense, conforming me to certain settings that I would then adapt to. So I think that there was the sense that in a more professional setting, one was required to be more feminine. In a more romantic setting, choosingly more masculine. But I think that it became such a routine, such a way of being, that I sort of lost sight with my authentic self. And there was this after the awakening experience, this tapping into my spirituality, tapping into my faith, tapping into my just general growing up as an adult. I lost faith. I lost trust in where my roots stemmed from, where my authentic self stemmed from, because all that remained were these conformities. In order to make other people happy, you'd have to be or act or be a certain way. And I think my hair largely took center stage in that sense. So in me cutting my hair, it's not necessarily just, it's more of a spiritual letting go, more of a spiritual acceptance that all the previous sides to me are just parts of me. And we all have our physical attributes, and hair for me is one of the main rebellion, to be honest, as a queer person. In South Africa, as a colored person, your hair is actually seen as a fashion statement. And especially if you are then identified as female, just based by what's between your legs, you one, you know, there are a lot of stigmas around colored people hairs. So as a female, you're not allowed to cut your hair essentially, and you know, and as a male, you're not allowed to grow your hair, and if you grow your hair, you're seen as a morphe, or if you cut your hair as a girl, you're seen as rough, you know, as a ruffian, someone, you know, you're not meant to mess with. And 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 to me, you know, growing up, I think that there is a certain level of security that being seen as a ruffian gives you, especially as a queer person. Not to say that that was the core reason, but it's sort of this adaptation that I grew into to protect myself from uh, the the homophobia that's surrounding, you know, in my country, and and you know, that sense of independence that I had to create for myself, because there isn't necessarily a queer community in 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 the colored culture. It's seen as taboo. It's seen as um, it's seen against, which is always funny. I find it funny. It's always seen as being against the religious laws. Which religious laws, you know, depending on who you ask, they could be Christianity or Islam, you know, nobody knows really. But yeah, so sorry, so this image as well that's showing right now, I wanted to also explore the body. You know, it's the first thing that people look at when they sort of size you up, is your tits or your, you know, your wide jaw, or your you know, these, and you know, people don't really understand how much of a internal struggle it brings upon oneself to be recognized that way, or to be labeled that way. And yeah, yeah, so I just like the gentleness of this, because when I am in my good solid place, you know, I'm like a freaking teddy bear. So it's, I really like this image of me. Yeah. So Simone, I know that you asked a few questions, so thank you for those. You know, I was trying to find the correct answer in trying to balance the two, you know, balancing between embodying a spirit and embodying and the portrayal of the ego self, you know. So when I say the ego self, this is the way that people have perceived me, and actually I lived up to those perceptions. And what I didn't realize is subconsciously it was killing me on the inside, and that killing me on the inside took the labels of depression and anxiety, and yeah, it just like I felt like every night unconsciously I, you know, sort of had this mentality of wake up, go to work, do this, do that, you know, gotta pay bills, just in that same mindset, not really living fully. And each night I would go to sleep and kind of like bury my soul a little bit deeper. Never really giving myself the benefit of the doubt to actually create change within myself. Yeah, these are like the process that I've been through, and by photographing myself is sort of like a stance against um the previous ideals that I had once thought were a way of life. And now it's like I just don't give two shits anymore. But yeah, so that in itself is like something to consider, is, you know, when we are when we are born into certain communities or born into certain cultures, born into different countries, we are automatically born with these ideals that are instilled onto us as what is, quote, normal. And you know, these ideals are built up on the shows that we watch, the people that are surrounding us, the schools that we attend. They are, you know, it's sort of like an accumulation of experiences that create these ideals that we then hold ourselves against as well, to say that this is how it should be, you know. And I always say that should is kind of like a binding word. It's a, sorry for the wind, it's a binding word. It's because who defines what should actually is? um and I think that I at one point became so caught up in what society deemed fit, or fit enough for me to actually belong to a certain space, that my ideals, that, you know, then led into this depression, because then it was like rapidly becoming this constant questioning as to, do I actually believe in this? Do I actually, is this in line with my authentic self? And turns out it wasn't. And by the time I realized, it was almost a bit too late, because I felt as though my spirit was trapped with inside, kind of knocking on the door, like, let me out, let me out, let me out. And almost to the point, like now it's hard for me to really articulate my emotions. It's hard for me to articulate my feelings. I express my feelings physically rather than feeling them internally, which is almost the same, you know, along the lines of splits. You know, there's my
Moenirah?
body has sort of
Oh,
suppressed, and there's sort of like this that's my project, man. Everyone who's sort of like gone on a self-discovery journey, with the entire reality becomes questioned when you realize that your set standards or ideals that you once believed in no longer resonates or hold any ground. And once you do that, you sort of a way of actively changing your day-to-day ideals and sort of create new ones. That's
yeah, thank you so much for that. There was a moment that you had a glitch, but I think we got everything, just in slow motion. I have one question, and then we should go to Syntia, which relates to the space in which the photographs are taken. So it's very internal, and just the process that you were describing of a kind of awakening of spirit also sounds like a very internal process in relationship to this external gaze, or the idea of the should, right? You should do this according to societal standards. But then the photographs kind of really show this internal splitness, or this breaking with a kind of split. And I'm wondering how you relate this internal struggle of an awakening to, for example, your activism or organizing towards the external world, right? Like there's this moment of realizing that you're trying to fit in certain things that you don't actually have to fit into, but then at the same time, there's also, of course, this need for material and practical change in the worlds that we live in. So I wonder how you relate to that, if that resonates with you.
I do think that there's always this a little bit of a struggle to really photograph or capture internal struggles, like, you know, emotions and feelings and so forth. This was a very intimate project, because this is sort of a way to find a means to find my authentic voice as well, you know, through this entire process. Yeah, so it is really as a, in a sense, to stand my ground for the first time, and just to do something that I really enjoy doing. And it's not to say photographing myself is is it, but it is more of the self-expression that has really been lacking. Yeah, I'm not sure if that answers your question. Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, I think it does. Thank you so much, Moenirah Daniels. I think we should invite Syntia in at this moment.
Hi,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Syntia?
I'm okay, thank you.
Just pulling your works up. Maybe Club Coweed can also show your works, and maybe you can give some description. Maybe also you want to do some image description of yourself. You also have a wonderful background.
Thank you. So right now I'm wearing a white shirt and I have a long mullet, which is wet, and because I just got out of the shower, and also I have a like just not wiping correctly makeup, and also I'm smoking a cigarette. I think that's how I would describe myself. Also, I have a virtual background of some abstract painting I've done before, with a red background and mostly gray, I don't know, shapes on it. Yeah.
Wonderful. And we also see one of your paintings. Do you want to give a bit of a description of the painting?
Yeah, but it's not actually a painting, it's a sculpture.
Wow, really? Okay.
Yeah,
That's my mistake,
I wanted
sorry.
to, it's okay. I wanted to clear the background so the viewer can focus on the content itself. So I made two sculptures for Through the Window, and I don't know how to I don't know how to talk about them, but I guess they are kind of similar to me with their faces, but they're also like very in my style in general. They have I don't know, distorted visual features and stuff, and somehow fragile look in their eyes. Yeah, and we also have the same piercings, a septum and 13 other ear piercings. And we do share similar brow and hairstyles. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, and now I see also, I read the description while you're talking, and it's a sculpture of papier mache, right? So is it quite soft? Would I imagine that it's quite soft or fragile?
Well, it is like, so I've had this thing that I wanted to do the sculptures, but I just didn't know how to do them. So I asked one of my teachers at school, and she actually gave me two papier mache face models to me, and I thought I could work with them. So my plan was to cover them up with air dry clay, and I knew it would like have fractures on it when it's on its dry time. So I let them crack however they were going to, and I filled the cracks with I don't know, like just some glue and stuff like that, so they would be held together on the papier mache. And later I filled the insides of it with I don't know the English of it, but one of it has cement and the other one has alçı, which I don't know what's in English.
I wouldn't know either. But
Cast.
cast. Ah, cast. Yeah, cast, like cast, or like gips in Dutch. Thank you, Kuba. Something that I'm reading also in your description that I think is really beautiful. I just kind of want to read it back to you. Also because it relates in some ways to Moenirah Daniels' work, in the idea of the split. Since it is impossible, so these are Cynthia's words, since it is impossible to bind up my wounds, but it is possible to separate them from myself and heal them by incarcerating them, I define my creations as talismans. This is the reason why, rather than calling it art, I prefer to refer to my work as alchemy. Sorry, there's a fly in my mouth. Do you want to share a little bit more about this passage?
Yeah, sure. So I've been feeling frustrated about the art community in general, because it's just we're in such a country that everything is so hard, and the art community has don't have much space, especially for queer persons or people with less I don't know, with less money or less friends or family around the art world. I don't know. Yeah, and I'm also coming from I don't know, a working family which has no interest in arts, living in a small city, and I'm just trying to. I've been trying to like put myself in a world that I wasn't born into. So I'm trying to make people accept me in in their community. So yeah, it's hard because I don't know, art can mean so much many things, and I don't necessarily get the feeling of what I'm trying to achieve from other artists. I won't say everyone, but just like in general. So I tried to make people understand how I'm doing what I'm doing, because I don't do what I do for the aesthetics or the, I don't know, for the money even. I want to, I don't know, I want to just trying to make the what I'm living meaningful. So I'm trying to give my life a meaning, and that is something hard to achieve because I do feel pretty. I don't know. I I I don't think necessarily life has a meaning. So I think us as individuals need to just work out how to fill that space. So my first answer to that question of mine was through art, but yeah. So sorry for I wasn't really say I really wasn't prepared. So
It's okay.
yeah, yeah.
I think I'm really, so I'm curious both about what you describe about the alchemy, right? Like it not being art, and I hear you say, please correct me if I hear this wrong, but I hear you relate it to the idea of the inaccessibility of the art world in some ways, right? And art being a kind of industry in many instances, being kind of based on nepotism as well, right? Like it's about who you know, not about what you make. And that in some ways, by saying my work is alchemy, not art, you're sort of escaping or finding some sort of space outside of this art industry.
Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to make a new industry here. That's my what's my vision, because there are people with similar feelings like me, but there isn't much space for us. So yeah, by calling what I do alchemy, I'm trying to give an inspiration to other people, other alchemists or artists, whatever, however you call them. Yeah.
And I'm also curious about, I I loved the idea of incarcerating your own wounds. And for me, just like giving an impression back of what I'm seeing in the work, even though I saw paintings, and now that I see that they're sculptures, I totally see it. So I feel a bit stupid in that sense. But I'm really feeling both like like this casting, right? Both this enclosuring of something, as well as something that's deeply coming through and coming out because of the way that the fluid, there's a really fluid aesthetic in the face, right? Like it's constantly moving in some ways. It almost looks like water, or indeed like wet clay that's still movable. So I'm feeling both incarceration, as you describe, as well as eruption. Yeah, I wonder how you relate to that interpretation.
Yeah, I think that was a nice interpretation. My style mainly comes from having wounds, having I don't know, having brokenness, but also being able to change and being able to just, I don't know, however you call it, grow or maybe just transform. So my paintings and sculptures, or how I look to life in general, is mostly accepting that it's distorted, that it's defined by the viewer, how it's perceived. But how we perceive things can really change, and that is also changing all the time, even when we don't feel like it or just acknowledge it. So I'm trying to have that feeling of distortion and also like a bleak aesthetic, kinda. That's where it's coming from.
It's really wonderful. Thank you so much, Syntia. I think we should invite Anto López in.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Anto, are you there?
Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear me? Well, 'cause
Yes.
sometimes it's very low on my computer for a reason.
I can hear you very well. I can at least hear you very well. Anto, you also submitted a work that's about transformation in some ways, becoming a deer almost, to connect with your
Come on.
dad. This is this is the you're spotlighted, you're spotlit. Yeah. That's kind of a description I could give to it, but I would also want to invite you to give, sorry, I'm being attacked by moths out here. But I would love to give, like, yeah, ask you to give a description both of your image in this current moment and as well as of your work.
Actually, I was like, well, thank you for the introduction, Simon. There is this thing on me that I think that as an image, I might be a moth, and then as soon as you said Anto, it appeared this moth because of this, I don't know, there's something of the way they fly, you know, that you never know where they're gonna land. So I always imagine them jumping from portals to portals, and I pretty much feel that's how I maneuver the ordinary or life on itself. So yeah, my name is Anto, and I'm having today black hair. I'm wearing this cropped suit. Maybe you can see that it's cropped here. And I'm wearing the necklace of a lover who's actually visiting me in Amsterdam. I'm right now in Amsterdam, although I was born in Madrid, in Spain, but he's leaving tomorrow. And yes, I think I would like to start by saying that for me, it was the decision of the work I wanted to show came from the proposition that you, as through the window, sparked, that would be this idea of, or this question on space, no? And for me, as a queer person, I've in my trajectory as an artist and in reflecting of my art as a queer person, I developed quite in a theoretical and institutional place. So at some point, thanks to the lockdown, which also is where Through the Window sparked, and at the point that it sparked, the conversation with myself started to be more about the poetics of my own queerness and my own history as a queer person. So that summer of 2020, I went to the countryside where this footage is from, and I had a very profound experience with my family because actually my mom suggested me to buy a wig at some point. And as a queer person, well, as a human, since I was a kid, I've been lucid dreaming, and it's being, well, in case somebody doesn't know what lucid dreaming is when you're dreaming, you're able to control your dreams, and you have the consciousness to understand that you're in a dream. So then you can just make infinite choices. So little by little, because of losing that capacity of being a lucid dreamer, let's say naturally, because it was always my reality when I was a kid, I thought this life was just the life of having to be some form of sociologist, or like some form of like a person that I need to understand what the hell is going around me and why am I being rejected, or why am I being the other. Whereas like in my dream, I could just ongoingly choose anything. So there was like a deep sensation of belonging, as if it was a craft that I always knew, because it was already there, as like dreams seem to be, like you just arrive into a dream. So lucid dreaming, it started to become a very important method, location, investigation of my own queerness, in which I also started to challenge certain certain parameters that were around me. As like, for instance, that's how I started working with my dad. My dad used to be a hunter. He used to hunt deers or boars in Spain, especially where we come from, in Valencia. And basically my dad, at some point in his life, because I was getting very sad as a kid that he was hunting deers, I really, because I was really always asking him, why are you doing this? Then he decided to change the rifle by cameras, just as simple as that. My dad has never been interested in arts. My dad has been a baker since he's 14 years old, never really had these thoughts on making something with this. And actually, I tell him that this is his own TV, because he just has a huge amount, like millions of videos, because he's been doing this for years. And he just watches this on his computer, and he doesn't want to do anything with it, really. So very much I've, in my dreams, I had, before COVID, I was always trying to, there was a moment in my life in which I was trying to encounter a deer, but I was never really feeling that it was me who I was trying to encounter the deer. And it started to feel like it was my dad who was trying to encounter this deer, and that deer might be me. And it was this silver-haired deer on my dream. So then at some point, in this time during COVID, when I went, in 2020, on this summer, when I went and spent this time with my family that I was in, that was very profound, I decided to just follow my dad on his routines of waking up in the morning and checking the cameras and placing new cameras. And by being with him, because there is this technique to remember, to be able to be a lucid dreamer, that it can also help to somebody if they want to try, which is to remember your day backwards. So from the first thing you do, on your memory, would be to go to sleep, and then you'll be like, then I had dinner, then blah blah. So then, because I was remembering all of this footage I was seeing with my dad, then I was getting lucid on my dreams. And then in that conversation with myself on my dreams, I realized that I am the deer, and that I wanted to be looked by my dad, and and there on the dream, I got to understand that person that was following that deer was my dad. So then, as a lucid dreamer, I tried to encounter the eyes of my dad, because my dad is actually very, I wouldn't say obsessed, but interested on the moments in which also the deers are looking into the camera, you know. So there is something for me very interesting on observing the observer, no, and all of these locations in relation also to queerness and how we are deciding on the performativity of the other, deciding on the attributes they're holding, no. So there was for me a form of like also through my own techniques claiming my own sense of action and my own sense of poetics on queerness, trying to then also, because the music of the video is a music that I've produced based on the music that I listen on my dreams, because that's also something that I, as a composer, as a music composer, I do. So then I was in the search of activating possible lost memories, reactivating my identity from other places in my family to start up other conversations. So in this sense, this work that I'm showing is not a finalized piece. It's just a matter of showing this conversation that I'm having with my dad and therefore with my family, in as many possible ways.
It's wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm wondering about, I know that you're saying it's not a finished work, but I was wondering when I first saw it, knowing you mostly as a performer, I was thinking about how this footage was made and how you're relating to the fact that you're working with footage that has already been shot, in this case by your dad. And I mean, if I just would riff an interpretation, I would almost, and maybe I shouldn't be doing this, right? So apologies, but this sort of almost like claiming his footage. Is that then a form of queering it, or is this a pre-stage of like of a real queering that you're doing with this? Well, real queering is very weird, but like a potential queering that you're doing with this in the future. Yeah.
And like also his footage, no? So there is for me this within my work, I'm interested on changing my own memory, on like accessing that memory and changing that through. That's why I perform, and I do lip sync of my own voice, performing my own memories, because through time I've realized that the more I do this, I am able to reimagine, not really even reimagine, like to really embody my memories that have been shaped by the act of performing them, no? So in a way, I am trying to reframe his eyes and reframe his gaze, because for me, the gaze of my dad is not that he was an authoritarian person as me growing up, but as what I understood, no, as what was brought before in the conversation, what is the performativity of masculinity? You know, for me, I had loads of conflicts with my dad. No, so there was for sure a feeling of me of not being seen. No, so I'm trying to also re-access that narrative and re-access that place, but not to glorify my dad, not to say that that was not happening, but to demonize my dad either, you know, but like to maybe transform it into some form of you know, like a multiple narrative, no, or like or that it has the capacity of being re-accessed and relived and transformed. And yeah, is that clear, more or less?
Absolutely clear. I was just busy wiping a moth off. You are here too. I would love to ask you more questions, but in terms of time, I think I'm gonna invite Andru in. I'm just sort of, you know, to not fully wrap it up or not let it go unwrapped completely. I'm just thinking also back of ceytengri's work in terms of transformation, but also in terms of the surveillance camera feeling. It's very, yeah, there's something, this image of the deer caught in the headlights, while inviting also the gaze, right? Like there's an invitation, the moment that you realize that you are the deer.
Yes.
There seems to also be an invitation, like who directs the camera in this case?
Because at the end of the day, I see of my dad as a choreographer, but as the deer in itself, because he's the one filming. That deer also exists because my dad is filming it. So there's also this, what you're saying, this surveillance of of and what the gaze and how that is staging. No, so there's also like something that is being staged, whether it's myself as a seer, whether it's my dad as a hunter, whether it's as a videographer, whether it's as a lucid dreamer. No, so there's this ongoing, and this erosion and this friction for me is a form of poeticizing my own queerness, if that makes sense.
It makes more than sense. Thank you so much, and also thank you for spending this last night with your lover who's visiting with us. We feel extra special. Andru, can I invite you in, and thank you again, Anto. Andru
Hi,
Suarez Rojas. Hello.
Hello.
There you are. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you. Yes, perfect. I would love to ask you as well if you would like to start with an image description as well as maybe describing something about your work.
Okay, I am Andrew. I am visual artist from Barranquilla, Colombia. My work from the William project is a piece called Decoration of Men from the Queen. Sorry, my English is so bad, but I try. This piece is a short story about the trans queen in the top looking on the tower, and she, with animals and little creatures, created all the men in the air. And the process and the inspiration for creative piece is about all the tests, all I read the list on the application Grindr here in Barranquilla. Made this piece, I realized about all the normative for the men, for the trans, for all the boyfriends in my country, in my city. Yeah, and terrible about how all them um, I'm here in this application. But I make this for the in a way for show this normativity in a folkloric way. I like words, all these things, all the trans for a folkloric perspective. In Barranquilla is common all the rumors, how you talk about the things, about the rumors, and that is the way composite all this is about the trans queen look at created all the men is about um
I couldn't hear. Ooh. Andrew, sometimes the sound is cracking up.
Show this beauty queen.
Andrew, there are moments that the sound.
Me?
This is a little bit better. Yes, sorry. I could hear most of it. Some got a little lost in the sound. What was the last sentence that you were saying?
All the information, all the testimonies I read, I collect from the profile on the Grindr. We shows, and I wanna show for in this piece, big problems toward feminist identities in Barranquilla, in Colombia. And inspiring for I was inspiring for maybe this in the Queen Elizabeth the Queen of Here for Alice in Wonderland, and the actress, Spanish actress I like is Rosia Palma, for creating an ethereal imagen of the trans queen.
Yeah, and so what I was understanding also is the way that you. I'm curious if you could say a little bit more about the way in which you used Grindr as an app to address certain problems. So, right, like in your description, you also say that the way that Grindr reflects toxicity, about saying, for example, no locas, so no crazy people, no plumas, no feathers, etc. So, like how male toxicity, like how male masculine toxicity is sort of produced in the application, and how is it that in this beautiful, colorful, complex configuration of symbols and in the painting, how is it that you relate this? I didn't understand that, sorry.
I I made all this information for I read and transform in positive, in a piece positive and possible letter for show all these problem in my city. In the way I work all these questions is is a good way to show make it the universe universal way for done in and all the normativity can I be destroyer I be interpret can be start talk about this but all the artworks in Korea about LGBT, all the trans words don't talk about it. And when I made this piece, this beautiful artwork, I realized it's not a question about beauty. It's about the body. It's about the body of men. It's like you don't have a good leg, you don't have a good ass, you don't have good arms, good legs, you don't know how the possibility to be or to start with other men. That is the question. The piece you can see two men, one in the leather boot and represent the men's on the gym. The pictures, all the men here in Barranquilla, and take a picture and show in Instagram and show in Grindr. And the other men is this is the men on the reflection on the Caribbean men that I like. But two men, all the two men don't have face and don't have face on don't beauty face. But the question in this problem on the question in this theme is a no beauty. It's about the body of men. The men's and this is the question is about the problem about the trans girls here. Book the trans and the feminists, the femboys, the twins, um, all is excluded and discriminate because don't have these characteristics with all these two men.
And maybe then as a last question, um, I'm looking at also like Marie Curie on the bookshelf. So there's these female figures such as Queen Elizabeth, but also Alice in Wonderland and the actress Rosita Palma, as well as the books, right? And so, what is the kind of play here between the beheaded masculine torsos and the women that are figuring in this painting?
And the Queen Elizabeth is a such inspiration for me, a woman to govern all a kingdom like England. And the Queen of Hearts is a reputation. Is like a dictatorial woman. And Rosie is ethereal figure, no normative. And show these three women in one. This queen is a repetition of my other myth, Gabrielle. I created Gabrielle for represent or for show all the things I want to do. And creating Gabrielle this way is a good way to show all the feminine here. In Barranquilla is no this is so unusual. Oh, no, it's so considered about outragers and other all can I all with a no be normative is considered terrible, tragic. This is a good way to show to Gabriela and make this.
Thank you so much, Andru. I really love the working with blue, the aqua blue kind of, and also all the little details. Like, I really want to study this painting much more. The clock. I'm wondering about all of the different symbolism here, and the soap that appears, the rabbit and the cat in the sort of witch stove. Yeah, it's really, really wonderful. I cannot wait to continue looking at this for longer. I'd also like to invite Bibi Berat
Thank
in.
you so much.
Thank you so much, Andrew.
Thank you so much. Sorry for my bad English. It's terrible.
Please do not
sorry.
apologize.
I'm really
No,
sorry.
the only problem I had was with the sound. So, but I think we got it, and we have the work. So that's
Thank
amazing.
you.
Bibi, are you there, Berat? If Bibi is not here, yeah, there they are. How could they not be here? They are
Of
always
course I'm
present.
here. I'm silently watching from the back.
Okay, dearest Bibi, welcome, or Berat. I would like to invite you as well to share some image description of yourself as well as a description of your work.
Of course. Hi everyone, I'm Bibi. I am sitting in front of a whiteboard which has some memories on top of it with written stuff, and also along with some celebration flags and some photos. I am wearing a mustard dark yellow t-shirt, and I have a beard as well, along with orange reddish hair, and I'm wearing black glasses along with over-the-ear headphones, and I have 2 earrings that are long and wiggly that has colorful beads on them. I guess that is what I can say for the image description. I am a fat queer person, so let's add that on top of everything so that this face that you're seeing is a bit more round. The body that you're seeing is covering the space a bit more than usual, maybe. Usual. When it comes to my work's name is A Personal Manifesto, Break Free. I had to flee my country, which is Turkey. I'm originally from Turkey, which is really exciting and funny to me also at the same time, because I'm also from the same hometown with ceytengri. I'm also from Bursa. I was born and raised there, and then went to Istanbul for university education as well. And then a lot of things happened that led my life to coming to, like, immigrating to Netherlands. And in this process, since the university education time as well, I had to deal with anxiety disorder and major depression as well. And along the way, with my mental health issues and the social circle that I have around me, which I also felt not really welcomed, or at the same time having some harmful relationships that hurt me, it was leading me to a really dark hole again and again and again and again, repeatedly. And even though I had to flee the country to be able to survive and continue to have a better life, let's say, or have a life more correctly, it kind of shocked me to face the reality of Europe and reality of the Netherlands as well, from both from political side and both from practical, publicly societal side. And those dark feelings and dark thoughts, intrusive thoughts that I always had along the way popped up again, because I was feeling unsafe and stuck all over again, even with the community that I was trying to be a part of, and I was thinking that it was more safe than the community that I was born into and the society that I was born into. And it always makes me feel like that I am stuck and not really able to move, or not really able to take space. Because when I first started getting into communication with Through the Window and reading about the phase 3 as well, and like got a place to crash, or like, is there a place? The first question that came to my mind was, is there a place, or is the place too narrow? Or in Turkish, yer var mı yoksa yer dar mı? It kind of rhymes in Turkish as well, so I really like to say it together in Turkish also. And along with all of these feelings and all of these thoughts and all of these intrusive moments that I'm having in my brain, I kind of realized that I forgot how to feel, and I forgot how to live and continue to just exist. And it kind of overwhelmed me to a situation where I kind of felt like I'm having a burnout or so. Then I wanted to put this out with the opportunity that I had with the Through the Window project now also. And even though I feel stuck, there is a plot twist to it, as I feel like there always is. And my plot twist is that even though I had to run away and I had to leave a lot of things behind, my family, friends, my familiarity, that feeling of familiarity around the place that you are living in, I realized that there's still some hope and some more chances along the way that I can take with me and that I can live through, that I can have. And that's also why I always say reflect, retake, and recreate, retake. And I forgot again. I always mistake them in English. Whatever. That's also why that I feel like even with the stuckness, even with the feeling of fear, there is the proof of life. There's the proof of existence, that I am there, that I am here, and I deserve to be here as much as you do. As I say in the video, in the spoken word also. You see the image in the background now? I want to give an image description for that also. Oh, it went away.
We can get it back if you want to start describing.
Yeah, of course. I wrote it down to make it a bit more not confusing. For the image description of the artwork of the painting, it's a cotton canvas painted all black with a cloud-like shape that has different colors in the middle, with brush strokes that shows flow at every part of the painting. And the cloud-like shape is also seen to be surrounded by a barbed wire. And on the background, we see a classic brick wall and some trees standing. And what I like and what I wanted to do also is that the barbed wire is also a bit more loose on one end, on the left end, when you take a look at it. And I wanted to have that looseness because I always feel like, as you can also see, I am flowing, I am transforming, I am growing, healing, changing, and that's all part of my journey. And I accept that, I embrace that, I want to embrace that, because that's what's supposed to be. That's the whole journey that we're having. And that's why there's a loose end also, because I feel like that darkness is not able to control over me, or is never going to be able to control over me, even though it can leak through, or even though it can narrow my place down a little bit. When I was little, I always tend to watch people on the streets, and I still do sometimes. And what I always realize is that, like, not watching in a creepy way, but for the more of the fashion and like the clothing side. And what I always realized is that there were almost no colors. It was always no bright colors. It was always black. It was always gray. It was always white, black, gray, like all in the same capitalistic colors that are always there. And it kind of always made me feel like I am not gonna be able to blend in anytime, anywhere. And it made me so scared. But then I kind of realized that I like to be that color in that blackness. Like, there was this Tumblr era that we all probably had to go through online as well. And like, there was a footage that I remember, it was raining with all black umbrellas, and then there was just red umbrella in the middle of the picture somewhere. And that always like gave me the feeling of myself even. And I wanted to reflect that with the flow. And even though there's darkness all around, the flow is actually everywhere. The flow is not just with the colorful part, but also in the part that is actually surrounded by that darkness, by those intrusive thoughts or so. And I took some notes to share because I wanted to point out some stuff to not forget. Is there a place, or is the place too narrow? It kind of also led me to thinking, do I belong anywhere? Because being a refugee and like also having the disadvantage of being a queer fat person in a community and in a society like Turkey, where I grew up, has affected me on a level that I actually never realized until very recent time. And that always pops the question up, even before I realized, always popped the question that, do I have a home? Do I belong to anywhere? Am I able to go back to somewhere? Am I able to, like, do I have a place that at the end of the day that I can go and feel secure and feel safe without have to think about anything, and being able to say that I own this place, or I am comfortable here, kind of? And I always kind of felt like the answer was no. So I am trying to also now hold on to this flow and hold on to this general feeling of belonging, not just to a place that is on earth, not just to a building, or not just to a room, not just to another place that you can think about, but to the universe, to the everybody everywhere, to just existing, to just being. And it always gives me the freedom of that I will not be accepting this because I refuse, because I feel, yes, I am scared, but that proves that I exist. And I exist and I feel. And I know that you are scared as well, but I know that it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay for you also. And I refuse that you are trying to take away something from me, and I will not have that because I deserve as much as you do. So this also, I really feel that it's really capitalistic as well. Like the already created and like starstruck kind of scenario that queer people should always suffer and queer people will never be able to have any family relationship, any connection with people, any social circle or so, makes me so angry now because I grew up with that and I had that feeling that I was gonna get killed by my family or disowned or anything else. But I came out to them, and even though there were some hills along the way, it went out almost perfectly. And that's just some example. Of course, it's just a luck point with the biological family, definitely. And I think like we need to acknowledge that also, but still along the other parts of our lives as well. That's why I also say I refuse.
It's also something that I really see in the painting, and it might be an overly optimistic interpretation. But when I first looked at it, I mostly saw the glistering and the shine of the black that surrounds the color. And for me, in a way, I was seeing it almost reverse as you describe it, which is that it's the black that creates also the barbed wire. So it's actually there where the life and the refusal happens. And so it's not in any way a binary, like it's all in some ways the same. So this is also something that comes up for me when I'm saying when you say I'm scared, but I exist. And therefore I exist. Bibi, I'm gonna have to thank you. And because we're almost getting ready to the DJs. And I will always say, of course, Bibi, ik hou van jou. And
Kabi.
I will invite Kabi in. And this is, I have to say, this is us flowing, because Kabi Kimari was not, we didn't prepare for Kabi to speak, but here they are. And I have to ask you, Kabi, to keep it short because of the DJs pressing upon us, but we do really want to hear you.
Hello, my name is Kabi Kimari. My pronouns are they, him. I am a trans multidisciplinary artist from Nairobi, Kenya. I'm wearing like a denim vest and like a mesh top. I have like my septum and 2 piercings. My hair is in twists right now. And I have like 2 loop earrings, and my painting is in the back right now. So my work explores the intersection between mental health and African spirituality. Most of the beings within my work are a reflection of myself. So my paintings all tell like a continuous story, starting with this heart figure here, who's also in this painting. This is a version of myself that I had to like find a way to express, especially being in this country that like being gay is like illegal, and like being gender expansive is illegal as well. And back to what Anto was saying about like lucid dreaming, I lucid dream a lot, and I astral project a lot as well. This is where I create all of these pieces and all of these ideas. So this piece specifically, the being on the right, the being like that's in flames and is red and has a star, is this new being that came up from the need to protect this heart boy. So they were baptized in fire in my last piece, and they're here to help the heart boy like escape from these these like prison guards that are like holding them. That's in the black and white tiled people that are there. And right now they're in like Heart Boy's swamp. So before the swamp, Heart Boy used to be in this room. It's called the astral control room, and the tiles were black and white, and they got out, but these beings found them after some time. So the beings represent like the structures that are there to like hold you down, but they escaped it for a while. But like as life is, there's always like something, like you have to overcome something next and next and next. So they were here to like keep holding them down. But Starboy is like fuck everything. Like they're burning all the time, so they're here to burn down everything. And they're like a maleficent trickster being, and they don't give a shit about anything apart from protecting them and Heartboy. So in this piece, they're meeting for the very first time, and they're having a conversation. So they're kind of tricking these beings that everything is okay, like just come with me, it's fine, but it's really not fine. So in the next piece, you'll see what happens. That's it.
Thank you so much, Kabi. I am, of course, as always, tempted to riff off all your words and to connect also all the different pieces, because I do see a lot of connections actually between all of the different artworks. Here I'm thinking about also ceytengri's work, but there's so much more to say. But sometimes we gotta stop talking and we gotta dance. I hope, Kabi, that you'll dance with us, as well as Kabi's mom, who's in the room, and everybody else, of course. I want to thank all of the artists, definitely the artists that spoke tonight, but also the artists that contributed. I hope that if you're listening in, you're gonna look at the works on Instagram. Keep supporting us. We want to keep supporting you. It's a mutual kind of process. I want to thank again the access workers for both translation, Turkish and English, as well as sign language. And of course, I want to thank you all for loving. And I love you all. And let's dance, Kubra.
Yeah, thank you everyone for being with us and always. Now it's time to dance.